2. Welcome back. 755 is real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. 755 is real is presented by Topps. Check out Topps Project 70, celebrating 70 years of Topps baseball cards. Man, Eric, we thought the season might come down to this final week, and it's kind of been a roundabout way of getting there, but it's coming down to this final week. Although the Braves have got to love the position they're in as compared to, say, the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, they got a chance to put it away, where the Phillies have to hope for the best to stay alive. I think that's definitely more pressure on the team that hasn't been here in a few years and hasn't done it, but it's uncomfortable for everybody. You know, I mean, you got something to blow if you're the Braves, and if you don't win, if you're the Phillies, you're out.
Yeah, the Braves did what they needed to do on that brutal trip. They and you know, the way it started, you were kind of concerned for them because they lost those first 2 games in San Francisco, and you're like, oh shit, here we go again with the West Coast trip for the Braves. But from there out, they came pretty close to sweeping at Arizona. They won 3 out of 4, which is, you know, as we've said, it's so hard to sweep 4-game series from anybody. But they had a real chance before Webb struggled in that one game.
Yeah.
So they lost 1 game there, and then they lose the game that they resumed before the San Diego series began, before the series opener. And that was a brutal loss too, because they tied it up and they had the momentum. And Will Smith blew the lead in the 9th, and they end up losing that game. So they start that series off kind of with a thud, but quickly erase that with what Fried doing exactly what he had to do and just shoved, man. He was terrific Friday night in that series opener. So you go on and sweep the actual series against the Padres, because that first game doesn't count as part of this series. It counts as part of the July series in Atlanta. And then they sweep the Padres and just took control of this whole thing. I mean, that was just huge, sweeping those guys. And the way they won Saturday and Sunday couldn't have been much more impressive than it was.
No. I want to clarify saying Fried's not an ace. You know, when I think of an ace, I just think of a guy that's thrown 200 innings, multiple, maybe one, you know, a couple times, and kind of solidified that health aspect of it. He definitely pitches like an ace. It feels bad saying something like that and then seeing him do what he did, but he's been doing that for a while, so he's definitely going to be an ace.
2.5 months, he's pitched like an absolute ace.
Absolute ace.
In today's game, where guys don't, hardly anybody goes 8-9 innings anymore. He's gone 9 innings twice in 5 weeks, which is unheard of. I mean, Charlie hadn't even done that. And since that second IL stint, he's been an ace. You know, 2+ months, he's pitched just terrific, man. Under 2 ERA the last couple of months, and he's given them exactly what they needed. And that's especially important because Ian is not back to his full self yet, and Noah's not even close. So it's really pivotal, that are important, that crucial, that they have those 2 guys at the top that they can totally count on. In Charlie, big game Charlie, I mean, the playoffs is where he thrives, and he's pitched really well. And then Fried now joins him. As you could go either way with that. I think they'll probably start Charlie in game 1 just because of what he's done before, but I don't think you can go wrong with him or Fried in whichever order, 1, 2 in a postseason.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to worry about that Colorado game.
No.
Hopefully, but if you had to throw it, you know you got,
you're not going to have to worry about that game.
2 guys you can feel pretty good about in game 1. But yeah, I mean, those 2 at the top are looking good. You know what, man? It's funny just how anything comes up, man. You take some time off and you come back. You know, I'm sure he's healthy, but created some kind of bad habit or just lost his rhythm. You know, anytime you're on a run like he was on, you want to keep that going as long as possible and stay healthy. So those little things, you know, punching the wall or whatever he did, you know, it's crazy how something as stupid as that can change the whole trajectory of things for you.
In the first run of his career too, where it really looked like he was establishing something, the foundation, you know, to move forward and become a real big piece of the rotation. And now it's like, okay, now you got to prove it again or get back on a roll like that and prove it wasn't fluky, you know? Yeah, that was just a huge mistake on his part. You just hope for his sake that he can get it back for the postseason. Otherwise, he's going to just wonder and wonder what could have been. Especially if he ends up being a reason, you know, his games end up being a reason in the postseason why they don't win. I mean, the way he was pitching, he was their best pitcher at the time he got hurt.
Yeah.
pitching better than Charlie. Charlie struggled a little bit early. He was pitching better than Fried. Fried got hurt early twice. He was their best pitcher when he got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, that little break, that time off, you come back, you're throwing a little different, you're not quite as effective. Struggle a little bit, get pulled out of some games early, and all of a sudden it's like, you're battling for a spot again, and you're battling for a playoff spot instead of being maybe the one or two.
Hell, he was even raking at the plate when he got hurt, and he's been a normal pitcher hitting since he got back.
Yeah,
he was like Babe Ruth before he got hurt. Every time he went up there, you were like, okay, is he going to hit it out?
Yeah.
So anyway, but fortunately for them, Ian Anderson has pitched a lot better in his last couple of times out. It looks like he's regaining his form, and they're not going to need more than 3 for a best of 5 series. So they wouldn't even have to worry about, until, unless they advance. So, but huge series against the Phillies, and the Braves are in the driver's seat. I mean, they can clinch if they sweep. If they sweep them, it's done. And if they win 2 out of 3, it's all but done. If they win 2 out of 3, the only way that the Phillies could win would be if the Braves got swept by the Mets, which is not happening. The Mets have lost 9 of the last 10. They're just a disaster.
Okay, don't say that stuff.
And the Phillies would have to sweep the Marlins.
Yeah.
At the same time to force the extra game, and then the Braves would have to lose that and play them. So that ain't happening. Those things are not happening, dude. So,
and in the clubhouse, you're looking at this series like, let's step on their throat.
Yeah.
Let's put them away. Let's end this thing. So the boys are going to come to play today.
Yeah. It's a hell of a matchup in a first game. I mean, I think the Braves will win 2 out of 3. I think the Phillies are playing well enough right now, and Harper's hitting. I mean, he's carrying the offense. I won't be surprised if they win 1 game in a series and the Braves clinch against the Mets, but they obviously would like to clinch against the Phillies head to head, make a statement, and then,
go home.
Then have 3 days to kind of just gather themselves. It's not like a week and a half where I think you can lose your edge. I think 3 games would be nice. Maybe take 1 game against the Mets to relax, rest a couple of guys, and then you play those last 2 games against the Mets as a time to get momentum going again for the postseason. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the Phillies series. But you got Charlie Morton facing Zach Wheeler in the series opener. Strikeout machine Zach Wheeler from just outside Atlanta. He has a tendency to put it to the Braves. I mean, especially this year. He's got like a sub 2 ERA against him this year. He's pitched great against him his whole career. So that's going to be a good game. And then you got Fried coming off his second complete game shutout in 5 weeks. He's facing Aaron Nola on Saturday. He has not been the same Aaron Nola this year at all. Well over 4 ERA, if I haven't looked it up, but well over 4, I know that. Ian Anderson, good matchup in the series finale Sunday. Ian Anderson against Kyle Gibson. They both have identical 3.60 ERAs. So great pitching matchups. Braves got their best 3 going. So do the Phillies. It's going to be fun.
A sweep would be cool. A sweep and celebrate would be pretty cool.
Yeah, celebrate on your home field Sunday afternoon, early evening when the game's over.
Yeah, and that'd be. I think anytime a starter gets a chance to pitch in that game, with a chance to put a team away, that'd be pretty fun for Ian.
So much happened, man, on this trip. But this last weekend, we could just focus on this last series against the Padres because so much happened. Starting with, we'll go with Sundays. I've seen a lot of innings that I've thought, I saw Craig Kimbrell do it a bunch.
That's who I thought of.
Bases, he pulled a Kimbrell. But you do not expect Will Smith to pull a Kimbrell. But, I mean, the way he did it, Will Smith gets himself in jam. Twitter is exploding. Will Smith comes in with a 4-3 lead in the series finale at San Diego. The place is sold out. They got a post-game concert about to start. So that right field berm was packed. I mean, it was super spreader packed. And Will Smith comes in with a 4-3 lead, walks the first 2 guys of the inning. And everybody knows Tatis hasn't been in the game yet, that he's going to be pinch hit, and he's standing on the top step of the dugout from the beginning of the inning with a bat in his hand. Yeah. Sure enough, he comes up to pinch hit with 2 on, and he's hit like 385 with 9 homers with runners in scoring position this year. And you're thinking, okay, this is over. And Twitter's
looking
going to
good.
explode, and Snit's going to have to answer for Will Smith, and there's no way he can stick with him, and blah, blah, blah. And then things didn't go as you expected.
I thought of Kimbrel that whole inning, especially once he got the second strikeout and had a chance to get out of it. But I mean, a save's a save. I know he doesn't make it. He doesn't make it. It makes it stressful sometimes. But a lot of that's kind of what makes a closer a closer. Is a lot of guys buckle after those first two walks, and they give in. And I think I'm seeing him make some adjustments and try to throw more fastballs. He's trying to throw fastballs away. He's trying to throw more four seams up. And it's pretty obvious guys are going up there sitting on it. Because even some of the takes, like the takes Tatis had,
Yeah,
those sliders were bastard sliders. They were really good pitches, and he just took them like they were nothing. And so, that's the cat and mouse that you always think of is, what's this hitter trying to do? But, I noticed he got Machado looking on a fastball the other day, who was going to be sitting sliders. So I think he's trying to make those adjustments. I just don't know if he's pitched that way enough where he has a fastball command yet, so there might be that kind of adjustment period, trying to get that fastball where he needs to, because he's always been able to throw so many sliders. His fastball could just kind of be spread, and the difference in the tilt versus the ride, he gets to swing and misses on it. But I saw him pressing. I mean, he was pressing, but I mean, I can't say I wasn't nervous on the couch. I don't get nervous watching baseball much anymore, but I was nervous for him. I was nervous for Snit, nervous for the team. That was a exciting inning to watch, I guess, is the nicest way I could put it.
How about Tatis comes up after two walks, and Tatis, with those numbers I just said, it with runners in scoring position, he does not swing the bat. 4 pitches. He did not swing the bat. And some people were talking about generous strike zone for the umpire helped Will Smith, but the pitch that Tatis took for strike 3 was a strike.
Yeah.
That wasn't a borderline.
Even if it wasn't, I mean, I don't know the angle that it crossed the plate or whatever, but even if it's not, you can't not swing at that with,
right.
You can't put it in the umpire's hands. And that's kind of I'm seeing that change in the game where guys are willing to strike out and pitch because a pitch was, 3 centimeters off the black versus protecting in that situation and not, leaving it up to the umpire. There's always been that saying it's too close to take. And in my mind, you can't take that pitch right there and complain about it because it's 2 centimeters inside if it's not a strike.
Yeah, I thought that one was a strike. I thought a couple of the other ones were borderline on the black, but I thought that one was a strike. But
he missed a few calls too. He threw some fastballs down and some breaking balls down that could have gone his way. So that's just baseball.
Travis Darno says to have the bases loaded in the ninth, it's obviously a situation we didn't want to be in, but for him to get 3 punchies in that situation is huge. Shows what kind of heart he has and the will to win that he has. Snit said he's got big, and he was about to say balls, but we were on Zoom, and he said he's got big, and he laughed. He said, "I don't know how to put that." He's got a big stomach. He said he guts through things, man. I mean, it probably bothered me more than it bothered him, honestly. Just looking at him out there, he just kept pitching. Good for him. So here's what happened. He strikes out Tatis for the first out there's still 2 on and 1 out. So, I mean, he's still got a huge jam in there to get out of. And he walks the next guy. What was that one on? He walked Cronenworth and Machado consecutively start the ninth. Machado would hit the grand slam in the series, So, I mean, I obviously being careful with him. He looked good. Tatis came up, they were chanting MVP, strikes him out, and the crowd's kind of stunned, but they're still, okay, we still got 2 more chances to get this thing and to at least tie it up and send it to extras. Slider down in the zone and on the inner edge of the plate. Tatis, and he looked incredulous, looked at the umpire like, what? So he did not swing on 4 pitches. So then he walks Tommy Pham after striking out Tatis on 4 pitches. He walked Tommy Pham on 4 pitches. You're like, whoa, what the hell, man? So he loads the bases, and he just walked the guy on 4 pitches to load the bases. So the crowd's going crazy again. Grisham comes up. He had singled in the 7th inning. Strikes him out on 6 pitches. He looked at the 2nd and 3rd strikes, and I thought the last one was high and in, I think, and I thought maybe caught the edge of the plate, but that one was a real questionable one. But he was stunned too.
Yeah.
So that's how 2. Crowd's booing.
I swear in those situations, the umps subconsciously, they have a way they want that inning to play out. You know, they got a flight to catch, and it almost seems like every time in those situations, the call leans toward the game ending.
And it was going to be a long game if it didn't end there.
Yeah.
And it's a getaway day. And the umps are
you
getting
know,
away too.
I'm not saying they do it on purpose, but I swear, you know, it just seems to, the calls always go toward, if it's borderline, what call would end the game sooner.
Yeah, we don't want to imply that the umpires were doing that, but it is getaway day for them too. And they don't fly private jets; they fly commercial. They don't fly charters.
Yeah.
So with 2 out, the Padres still needed a hit, a walk, a wild pitch, pass ball, an error, anything to get this thing to extra innings. The bases are still loaded, and Will Smith still got it. Like, okay, can you do it one more time? So up comes Kim. He swings.
First pitch.
He took 2 balls and then he swung at 4 in a row.
That's right.
Fouled off a 2-2 pitch. Then he struck out on a foul tip, 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Boom. Will Smith has done the impossible.
Yeah.
Think about all the drama in that inning, which seemed like it lasted a half hour. It's probably more like 20 minutes. All the drama in that inning, there was not a ball put in play.
That was Craig versus Kimbrel. That was a classic.
Craig versus
right there.
Craig versus Kimbrel. That's right.
Once you get the second strikeout, though, it's such a momentum changer because now you can just get any out. You know, as a pitcher, if you just have to get any out.
Right.
So once you get the second strikeout and once you get that second out, I think it takes so much pressure off, and then it puts the pressure on the hitter. But you're just thinking, you almost think I'm out of this once you get that second one. You know you just got to make pitches and it's done. It changes your mindset having the 2 outs.
Because a ground out or a sac fly won't do it now.
Yeah, it's done. When you get that second guy, and if he puts the ball in play, the game's tied.
Yeah.
That's when it's really hard. But every time I was in those type of situations where it looked like there's no chance you're getting out of it, and then you get the second one, your mindset switches to, oh shit, I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just such a positive spin in your mind. Once you get that close, you can pretty much taste it and you feel like you're getting out of it. I felt good after the second strikeout, like he was getting out of it.
I guess the second out would be the pressure field, the hardest one, because the first one you're almost like, what the hell, man? I mean, I'm just screwed. I'm just going to make pitches because nobody's expecting me to get out of this anyway. So
yeah,
we're either going down in flames or I'm going to strike this guy out.
Yeah, and even the first one, you're still thinking I can get a double play ball or something.
Right.
And we got a runner on third. But the second one, when it's bases loaded, 1 out, that is a tough at bat to pitch.
So it's critical on the first one that you keep the ball down.
Yeah.
Don't make a mistake up.
Yeah. Yeah, because you give up the walk-off and everything. But I swear, once you get to bases loaded, 2 outs, game on the line, it's like a hit, any hit, game's over.
I remember always feeling that way if Smoltz or Kimbrel got in a bases loaded situation. If they got an out or 2, they're going to get it now.
They're done. It's over. Yeah. And I think you probably feel that, on the hitter's side of it is, shit, we can't let this guy get out of it. And then he gets that second one, and it's the dude walking up there now is like, look at the situation we had. All the pressure's on him. And as a closer, you're like, I'm getting out of this thing. I got 2 outs. I just got to make a pitch. 1 pitch and game's over.
Will Smith said, I asked him about it. I said, how'd you remain calm in that situation, and focused? And he had something interesting. He said he realized years ago when he was coming back from Tommy John elbow surgery, when he was watching the games, he said he realized something that helps him when the crowd's roaring like that and there's no margin for error. He said, that's one thing I learned going through Tommy John. When you're just sitting on the bench, you realize you can slow the game down and just make your pitches pitch by pitch. And it's either going to go your way or it's going to go his way.
Yeah. But don't get out of your game. Don't try to do too much.
He said, we just got lucky tonight and it went our way. So I guess he's saying, you can do what you can do and don't worry about it. I mean,
if you can embrace that mindset, it takes a special guy to be able to actually think that in the middle of that situation. And that's usually the difference between a closer and an okay setup man, and the same thing as major leagues versus minor leagues. That's the advice I give every single pitcher that would get called up when I was pitching was, look, man, if you make pitches, the hitters will get out. Don't let your emotions get you trying to do too much. That's that superpower Leo Mazzoni was talking about when he came on here, was guys get into situations and they start trying to do more. And that's when you fly open, leave a ball up and get really hurt. It's you got to have a special mentality, and you have to really believe in it and be able to slow the game down and stay calm to be able to execute it. I mean, you see a rookie when they come up and they get in those situations. I can't remember. We've talked about a few of the pitchers over the years where you could see their eyes when there's a jam and there's a tense situation and they look like a deer in the headlights. You could just turn the TV off, because unless they get lucky, they're going to make a mistake and try to do too much. But you can see other guys, you look at them on the mound and in this situation, and everybody in the stadium's going crazy. All your fans are panicking and think you're going to blow it. But if you look in their eyes and they look calm and they make pitches, I mean, it's hard to hit.
And that's that situation where it helps having that veteran catcher back there too, that you got a great relationship with, huh?
Yeah. If you're in that situation and you got a catcher that's just, kind of suggesting things without much conviction behind
Tentatively.
He like throws down a 3 and leans his head like, is that what you want? You're like, shit, I don't know what I want, man. Look what's going on right now. I need you to.
You're like, we're screwed, man.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get that rookie back there just guessing, I mean, that's a big part of it too. When a catcher puts down a sign and hits his glove, like, make this pitch and we're getting out of it.
Yeah.
It's just so weird in baseball how much all that little stuff matters for your mentality.
So with that win and the sweep, the Braves know that they're in the driver's seat now, because if you win, you got a 3.5 game lead, or you got a 2.5 game lead. If you win 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, you'll have a 3.5 game lead. And in that scenario,
they can't lose.
The only way the Braves would not clinch during the final series against the Mets would be obviously if they got swept by the Mets while the Phillies swept the Marlins. And if that would have happened, Braves lead would be down to a half game, and they'd have to play that makeup game of the September 16th rain out against Colorado. They'd play that on Monday here in Atlanta. And that would determine whether they would, because if they lose that game, then they would have to play the Phillies in a 1-game playoff to decide the NL East title. So a lot of things have to go the Phillies' way.
Yeah,
but if
they're in a tough spot.
The Phillies have to win the series to give themselves any chance, any realistic chance. They'd have to win the series and probably have to sweep the series. And I just can't see the Braves doing it the way the Braves are playing. I can't see that happening. But we'll see. It's going to be a good series, I think. 2 pretty evenly matched teams for sure. I just think the Braves have a little more balance, a lot more pitching. Starting pitching's better, a lot more depth in the lineup. The Phillies get Harper, and he's playing great, MVP caliber second half. But the Braves have so much more depth in the lineup with so many guys that can hit the ball out of the park. They literally have 7 or 8 guys in the lineup most days that can go deep on any pitch at any time.
Yeah,
that's how much power they got in this lineup.
Yeah, and if you put it to Wheeler, if you come out and put up 5 in the first 5 innings on Wheeler, it's like they might as well just jump in the plane.
So otherwise, if they don't have to, if the Braves clinch it between against Phillies or the Mets, they'll end up playing 161 games instead of 162. You hope it doesn't end up affecting them statistically. I mean, you worry, but not that you worry too much about the individual stuff. But they got, like, Dansby hit that 27th home run now. They got a chance. Dansby needs 3 homers in the last 6 or 7, 6 games, and they would be the first team to ever have 4 infielders with 30 homers. Never happened. So
I was thinking that the other day when you were saying he's not going to get there. I was like, he can get hot in a hurry too.
Right.
A multi-homer game or something.
If he got as hot as he was for about a month, he could do it, because he was hitting like 2 or 3 in a series, not like it was nothing. He had the couple of 2-homer games, and he had that series where he had 4 up in DC. Yeah, not that long ago. I mean, and then he got ice cold. So if he gets hot, it could still happen to be interesting. They've put themselves, they got to love the situation they put themselves in, ready to clinch at home in front of their crowd. And ideally, like I've said, and we've agreed on this, that ideally, I mean, sure, you want to win as many games as you can and clinch, but clinching in that final week tends to give you, you don't have as long to lose your edge and then have to flip the switch and get amped up again for the postseason. If you're pushed down to that last week, and they are being pushed to the last week, probably going to be pushed to the final series, but I just think it's a lot easier to keep your momentum going into the postseason than if you have to kind of, okay, here we go, get started again. If you have like 2 weeks to cool your jets.
I think so too. I mean, look at we had that. We had what, a 10-game lead in 2011 and had that rain out of a whole series
In
in
New
New
York,
York. And you
never
just
recovered.
kind of go into la la land for a few days. I mean, it's kind of the same concept when you clinch early. It's like a closer when they come into a game and it's not a safe situation. You still want to do well, but when the pressure's gone, you let your guard down a little bit, whether you know it or not. And I think teams that clinch with 2 weeks to go, there's not that same intensity. You can't manufacture it. It's something that just the situation kind of applies for you. And I always think the teams that clinch with 3 games, 2 games left is fine, because you're gonna celebrate. Like if they clinch the last game of this series, that plane ride to New York is gonna be awesome. Like those, and then you don't play the guys the next day. You take that one day easy, and then everybody's getting right for the playoffs, and it happens quick. There's not all that time off. Even
No, New
even
York's here. New York's here.
Oh, New
Both
York's
of-
coming here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they're not flying there.
yeah. They're
Well,
home.
either way, then that next day game,
Yeah.
or that
Get to
Monday
sleep,
game,
man.
whatever.
See the kids and all that in the morning before you come.
Yeah, you definitely need that. You definitely need that day to just let the guys that don't want to play not play, and kind of thank them for putting in a good year. But then you're
Right.
back to business game 2. I even thought when there was that break in the playoffs, you'd clinch.
Yeah.
And then they'd have the wild card off day type of
Right.
thing where it's 3 days. Like I hated that too. You want to keep rolling. So the more time you can spend playing intense games leading into the playoffs, the better.
Yeah, and I think while people not people don't necessarily feel bad for the Dodgers, because it's hard to feel bad for the Dodgers. They're $250 million payroll, but they have a chance to win like 102 games, 103 games, and still have to play a 1-game playoff wild card. Giants too, because they just lost Belt now, so the Dodgers have a chance to catch them. Belt's out. That sucks for the Giants, man.
What happened to him?
Broke his hand. And
He
he got hurt, got hit. You know how he got hit? Bunting.
Oh.
Got hit. He's out. They haven't given a timetable yet, but he's out. I can't see him coming back for the postseason unless they maybe get to the World Series. He comes back, but it's on a stolen hand. That not good. So that hurts him bad. He's been playing, and he's been hot too. It's been the best. So Dodgers still have a chance to catch them. Either way, one of those teams is going to win 103, 104 games and play a wild card game. But on the other hand, if they had 102 wins in this division in the East, they would have clinched a month ago, and they would be right now playing meaningless games for them. Yeah. They wouldn't even have been able to play for home field advantage. So now they're going to push. Those teams are going to push right to the wire. 103, 104 win teams are going to be pushed right to the wire and still be playing for their playoff lives in a wild card game. So I think it makes them even more dangerous. Those two teams.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing, but it hurts you obviously losing your best starter, starting him in that wild card game, and also playing a team that's got like 15 less wins.
No doubt.
And worst case scenario, you play the damn Cardinals. If anybody can, if anybody can knock Scherzer and the Dodgers out in a wild card game,
this streak is crazy.
There's no other team I'd pick than the Cardinals to be able to pull that off.
16 in a row. Are you kidding me? I mean, at the timing. Yeah, they're what they're doing. What they're doing is nuts. It's reminding me of Oakland, but they're doing it at a playoff race that, down the stretch. This is the only thing I can remember this reminds me of is the Rockies that year, Rocktober. Rockies won like 22, 23 in a row from the regular season into the playoffs, though. I think they swept their first 2 series in the postseason, and then they just got their asses kicked by the Red Sox. It was almost like they'd shot their wad and they were done.
Yeah.
Plus, they ended up their second series early, so they had that break you're talking about. They had to rest for like a week before they played the World Series, and they just had nothing when it started. They needed to stay on that run they were on, And the Cardinals are they got that danger too. Maybe it's good that they'll have to play a wild card, but they have that. They have the danger of this run. They're loving going to the ballpark every day. They're like, we can't lose. Then they're going to have like 4 days before they start a series, though, because the NL division series don't start till Friday. The AL start on Thursday. So you got your wild card games Tuesday, AL, Wednesday, NL, and then the division series start Thursday and Friday. So even if they play, if they don't play a wild card game, which they're going to have to, they can't catch
Yeah.
the Brewers. I'm realistic. I don't think they're going to do that, but they would play a wild card game Wednesday. So it kind of spaces it out a little bit, but still they're going to have more, like 4 off days between.
Yeah.
First
And that's the
series.
type of thing that breaks up a win streak like that. Just a reset.
Yeah.
The wild card game, I hate as a player. I hate it. But as a fan,
yeah,
you can't ask for. It's the best. It's the best to watch a 1-game playoff.
I think it's the best for fans, unless you're a fan of one of the 2 teams involved.
Yeah.
The rest of the fans are loving it. It's like the best game of the year watching it.
Yep,
if you're just a neutral fan, but if you have a rooting interest, it's to get the Malox game, man. Because if you fall behind early, you're like, holy shit, how did it come down to this? We played 162, went through all the shit we went through. We got here, and now we're down 3-0 in the first inning.
Yeah, and look at the Dodgers. I'm sure if you went through their schedule, they've lost games to shitty teams.
Yeah.
They've lost to bad teams. And one game in baseball, that's why I hate it as a player, because anything can happen in one game.
And that's why it's nothing like the season you just played.
Right. You could take the Pirates number 5 starter.
Absolutely.
Roll into LA, and starter has an off day or some weird error or ball bounces a weird way. Closer blows it. Something happens in a 1-game series. Any team in baseball can win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas if the Pirates are playing the Dodgers in a best of 5, it doesn't matter if they win one game, the first game.
I mean, game 1, it's like
they got no chance.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to win. But 1 game, man, that's why you hate it as a player, because especially as a reliever coming into that thing.
Yeah.
Your whole team season is riding on you. I remember coming into that wild card game against the Cardinals in 2012. That was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. I couldn't even feel the ball in my hand. I mean, I skated through the inning somehow, but I was not myself. And I was yanking balls and pushing them. And I mean, it was a different environment.
That's why I liked last year, that best of 3 in the wild card round, because at least
I like it too.
It's at least similar to what you've done all year. You could series. Still. And the worst thing that can happen if your starter comes out and lays an egg in game 1, you still got another chance. I mean, the other team's going to have to do it twice to you. And I just think that makes all the difference in the world. Even if you had to do it as a doubleheader, even if you had to do, play the first game as either the doubleheader 7 inning games on day 1, and then third game if necessary the next day, and get it done in 2 days. Anything's better.
Doubleheader if necessary.
Anything is better, I think, than 1 game wild card game. But
yeah, that's why as a player I hate it. I mean, but like you said, if your team's not in it and you're watching,
it's the best.
I'm getting the popcorn out and I'm not missing an inning. And until somebody gets a big lead or something.
Because in effect, it's game 7. Wildcard game's game 7.
It's a free game 7 to kick the playoffs off.
Yeah. Yeah. Darno was talking about coming home, after putting themselves in the driver's seat with what they did. 7-3 trip, not counting the resumption game that they lost. 7-3 though in the game, in the real games, the complete games. Darno said, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of like one of the coolest situations to be in, an opportunity to clinch at home in front of all our fans, hometown fans. But we've just got to take it game by game and go out there and try to win the series against the Phillies. They're a good team and they've been playing good baseball. So we've just got to study up and stay focused." I think they've shown that they will have the right attitude, that there's no chance of them coming out and being kind of cavalier and going, okay, it's worst thing that can happen is we don't clinch against them. We'll clinch against the Mets. I don't think this team shows that they're not like that.
No, your attitude is to just beat the shit out of them. Just put them away. And you're in the driver's seat. You got a chance to do it. You get excited for that. They'll be amped up like a playoff game. Like, let's just end this now, in this series.
And it's a rival. I mean, the Phillies more than the Mets, the team that they've had more of these run-ins with. And, and Harper with the whole MVP thing. There's going to be that kind of sidebar story going on with Harper. Some people think has taken over as the leader in MVP. A lot of other people think it's still Tatis. A lot of people think it should be Riley or Freddie. Riley and Freddie could take votes away from each other. Duvall, people are going to look at his numbers. That might take some votes away. So I think Riley's got a chance, or Freddie, to come out, and if they have a much better series than Harper and the Braves win the series, that could play in the minds of a couple of voters. If they're watching the series or paying attention, they go head to head, and because the numbers are so similar. I mean, Harper's had a great second half, but so is Riley, man. Their numbers are really
come
similar.
Into play though. I mean, if Harper comes out and hits 6 homers in the series,
yeah, he could win this. That could win him the MVP.
Yeah,
and same thing for Riley.
Goes 0 for 12.
Right.
If I'm voting, I'm looking at the guys that if this is the biggest series, this is what you want a player for when you're talking about the most valuable guy. Who do you want on your team?
Agreed.
You play a series like this. I mean, if you're going to win MVP, this is when you have to do it.
I thought the weekend series, the comeback, the Max Fried win was phenomenal Friday night, but then the comebacks Saturday, they came back from 3 deficits. They came back from a Machado grand slam that put them up 7-3. I mean, not many teams will come back from that. That place erupted when Machado hit that grand slam. The Braves just went back to work, came back from that one and won it. Came back from 3 deficits and won the thing. I thought that game and then the escape act on Sunday in front of a packed house, I thought that was kind of a microcosm of the season, the kind of the overcoming adversity, resilience when everybody's doubting them and all that. I thought that was kind of wrapped up in 2 games right there, what the Braves have done all year.
Yeah, and they haven't done it like they did in past years where they won those games like almost every time.
Right.
Last year and the year before, they could be down 5 and you still thought they had a chance. They haven't done it quite the same, but it still just speaks to the mentality, the leadership of the team. Snit, something about him, his team seemed to find a way to win, and never give up. And I think that's him not putting the pressure on him, being a positive influence. But the Will Smith one, man, I mean, you don't think there's any way he's getting out of that.
Yeah.
But only one person in the world has to think he's getting out of it, and it's him.
Yeah. And he did it. I mean,
yeah.
And you can honestly say, I mean, you could give Darno some credit, but otherwise, that's all Will Smith, because he didn't even rely on the defense to make a play for him.
Nope.
That's all him, man.
Yep.
It's on your shoulders, dude. You control this inning. They didn't put a ball in play.
Yep.
You loaded the bases. You gave him every opportunity to win it, and then you took that opportunity away yourself.
Yeah, and what you're looking at, if he doesn't do that, you come into this series today.
It's a whole different thing.
It is a different dynamic.
Whole different thing, because if you come in with a 1.5 game lead, the Phillies know if they win the series, it's on for that last week, that last series.
Half game back if you take 2 out of 3.
Yeah. It's a totally different picture.
Yeah.
If Will Smith blows that save.
Yep.
This is a team, you keep reminding yourself, this is a team that did not get over 500 until like the 109th game of the season.
Yep.
That seems a long time. It seems like it's been like 3 seasons wrapped in one. I mean, it seems so long ago that Acuna got hurt. And that was only like 50 some games ago.
Yeah.
Or 60 some games ago. The game before the All-Star break. 2 games before the All-Star break.
Seems like last year.
It seems like ages ago that Darno tore his thumb ligament, missed 3 months, and it seems like he's already been back and he's like part of the team again. It's like he was never gone.
It's such a long season. I remember
baseball's so long.
I always told guys that, because there's always some shit going on in the season. Say it's like this early May drama. Some guy's getting ridden hard because he sucks or he's doing this. And
you always put that in perspective.
I would always tell guys, like, nobody's even going to remember this shit in June. Like, just power through it. And you're going to get to September. Nobody's going to remember what was happening in June because it's 162 games.
Yeah.
You can't afford as a player to ride those waves with all the outside noise. And am I a fluke or am I good or what's going on with me? It's such a mental challenge to stay even keeled through this long of a season. I mean, if you check online, fans can afford to lose their shit every time the team wins or loses. But as a player, you have to stay even keel because you'll be so mentally drained if you blow a save in mid-May and you're falling apart over it and stressing it. The number one thing you have to be able to do as a major league player is just put yesterday behind you, turn the page, show up to work again tomorrow. And it is. I mean, it's crazy that I don't remember what's happening with this team in May. I know maybe Freddie was struggling. And
think about this. Think about Charlie Morton was struggling so much early on that everybody's like, there we go again. We always sign the guy when he's done. After he's had the kind, now he's done, and we sign him. We have $15 million. That was a dumb signing. Charlie Morton, like a month into the season. Now look at it. They've re-signed him for $20 million, and everybody's like, well, he's earned it.
Yeah.
Thank God he's coming back. Drew Smiley. He starts terrible. He's horrible, right?
Yep.
Everybody's, oh my God, this guy's horrible. Then he has a run where he's like, look at that. He's the best pitcher on the team for about a month and a half, right? He's pitching great. They're winning every start he makes. Then they're like, okay, I'll give him credit. He's come back. And now it gets terrible again, and he loses his rotation spot. Don't even know if he'll be on the postseason roster. Max Fried gets hurt twice early. He's got like a 5 ERA at the end of the first month, right? He's got the hamstring. He's got the blister. You're like, oh God, Max last year was his year, man. He picked up the slack last year, but this is why they can't rely on him. Now look at him. I mean, so much happens. Freddie was hitting under 200 again, like 40 games into the season or something.
Yeah.
And then he all of a sudden he's an MVP 50 games later. Austin Riley didn't have an extra base hit or an RBI in the first 15 games of the season, and Snit was being asked how long the Braves can stay patient with Austin Riley and keep him in the lineup at third base.
Now we're talking MVP.
Now we're talking MVP.
Yeah. And that's just, you as a player, you got to maintain that perspective that there's so much time. That was Derek Lowe would say that, no matter, he had a running joke. And the first year you play with him, you didn't get it because he'd always be saying it's still early. It'd be June. He's just walking through the clubhouse after a tough loss. We're all right. Still early.
Yeah.
Still early.
Yeah.
He said that shit all the way to the last game of the season. Still early. He just had these jokes, but you didn't get it till like September, really what he was saying. And it kind of goes to that is that it's just, there's always so much baseball left. And then you get to the end of the year and that now it's crunch time where they're at now, but who even remembers what was happening?
Yeah. Acuna was the MVP front runner. Like a month into the season, we're like, oh, he might do 40-40, he might do 50-35. I mean, he gets hurt.
Outfielders.
And then he gets hurt, and they completely revamp the outfield. Pache is terrible. He loses his spot. They completely redo the outfield. And I mean, after they went through a stretch where like guys like Almonte and Heredia helped keep them afloat.
Yeah.
Before reality set in, they realized they got to go get some more guys. They got 4 new outfielders.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like Pablo Sandoval played this year.
We forgot his 4 pinch hit home runs in like the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Which I think is still the major league leader for pinch hit home runs. And he hasn't been on the team. He hadn't done anything in 5 months.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a baseball season though. So, I mean,
yeah. He was the phenomena early. He was the story. Pablo Sandoval. Where would they be without Pablo Sandoval?
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, you think about that though, is he could have made a difference in this whole thing. If he didn't hit some of those pinch hit homers, they might be chasing the game right now.
Yeah. Chris Martin. Oh man, what are they going to do without Chris Martin? He's hurt for a month early. Oh God, that's the best reliever. He's out for a month. Now it's like, oh my God, Chris Martin is so far down the totem pole now since the sticky stuff and all, whatever the reason, he's not even one of their key guys anymore.
Yeah. So it's just, it's so crazy what a different perspective you have to have in the clubhouse versus out of it. I mean, you can't ride those waves and get wrapped up in today's story, but when you're following it and watching it, I mean, that's entertaining. When you're inside of it, you have to just really be good at ignoring all the outside noise and staying even keeled because it's a long season. And if you think about spring training on top of that,
oh yeah,
I don't remember how anybody played in spring. There's a story every day on some guy that's hot, some guy did new workouts and all this. And then you get to this point in the year, I can't tell you a single thing that happened in spring training.
Here Adrianza won a spot because he hit like 400 and some in spring training. Him and Pablo Sandoval were the stories. They both hit over 400. Yeah. A ton of power.
Yeah. It's a long year, man.
The Contreras period when he was the starting catcher for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
After never playing AAA. Okay, so Sunday anyway, Jock Peterson, forgot to mention him. He hadn't played much at all lately, but he was big in both of those wins Saturday and Sunday, man. He had that big double Saturday, and then on Sunday, they built a 3-0 lead. He gets a 2-out homer in the second inning. and the Padres, of course, booing him because the former Dodger, and he's like, I love the way he does his arm when he goes around his face when he hits on run. But he's big in that. They build the 3-0 lead. He hits a 2-out homer, and then they get doubles from Austin Riley and Darno and a pinch hit RBI single from the aforementioned Adrianza. But so they have a 3-0 lead and they're cruising. But then the Padres get 3 runs in the 5th off Jacob Webb, who's had a couple of bad games lately after, going on that 16 inning, I think it was, scoreless streak when it was just like lights out. He would move himself into the high leverage role. So you hope he can kind of get things going again in this last week, kind of get some rest or whatever he needs to do and get back in that groove, because he was really looking good, man, for a while.
Yeah. And that's part of what I'm talking about, learning to turn the page on stuff. As a reliever, you have that bad one. If you take it back out there next time against the Padres, you're going to give up 3 more. But it's easier said than done to, that's weighing on you when you go back out there. It's like, shit, my last one was a bad one. And that's why I'm saying managers can amplify that feeling.
Yeah.
If a manager rides you on the bench for seven days after a bad outing, the next time you go out there, you're like, look what happened the last time I pitched bad. If I do it again, maybe I don't pitch for another week.
Yeah.
If your manager can throw you right back out there and show you that confidence, but in his case, it's 2 bad games. You got to be able to just say, shit, I sucked. Maybe not watch too much video, maybe not overanalyze it. Just go back out there and chuck the ball and have that same confidence and mindset that you have when you were rolling. But it's going to happen. You have to be able to handle that.
He gives up the lead. They're down 4-3, but then they came right back, and Peterson drew a leadoff walk in the 6th. Orlando Arcia, another guy that they added after the season started, he's been out more than half the year in AAA. All these guys that were not part of the thing at all coming out of spring training. He hits a 1-out pinch hit double, drove in. Peterson ties it up again. And that's 2 games in a row where both of those guys, because Arcia had a big walk the night before in that big inning, in that miracle game Saturday where they came from behind 3 times. And Arcia had a 1-out walk to get things going in that 2-run 10th inning, which they've sucked in extra innings all year. So for them to have a big one in the last week, that's huge for me. Get some momentum, show we can do this in a 10th inning, because they've just been the worst team in the majors in the 10th inning this year. So that's pretty big to do it in such an important game on the road against a San Diego team fighting for the playoff lives, until the Braves eliminated them. Peterson got a start. They were able to rest Duvall for most of Sunday. They wanted to give him some rest, coupled with Monday's day off. He's just got tired legs. He was playing center field on that turf in Arizona, running around a lot. He's type 1 diabetic. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. They're not going to say if, he don't want to use any excuse, but they just wanted him to rest his legs some. So Peterson got a start. He had good numbers against Musgrove. Peterson did. So previously, he starts Sunday, and it paid off. He had a great game. Duvall rested, came in the 7th inning, double switch. So he should be well rested for this stretch run. He's got 38 home runs and leads the majors, leads the league in the RBIs, like 111. So, he's got an outside chance at a 40 homer season, man, with 6 games to go.
Oh, I think he gets it
at home. How he pitches Truist.
How
he hits Truist.
Yeah, he rakes at Truist. I think he gets it.
And rakes against the Phillies. 39. Yeah,
but
I know.
It's just a big dude to be running around in center field.
Yeah, thick dude, big legs, muscular. That would suck if he gets 39 and he lost that homer at Arizona. That really would suck. What was that? Oh, I meant to ask you about Noah's pitch selection in that awful game. He gave up 7 runs in that game. They came back and won anyway. He gives up 7 runs early. On the grand slam, he threw 16 consecutive sliders, dude. 20 of his last 21 pitches in that game were sliders.
Was he throwing his fastball for strikes, or was he missing with it?
Early on, he said that they was throwing a fastball and they were laying off of it. He was missing. He didn't have command, obviously, because if he was throwing it and they were laying off of it.
Yeah, it's a ball.
So he said he and Darno agreed. They went to the slider because those guys weren't going for the fastball. And he threw some good ones to Tatis, struck him out. I think, man, he just slider after slider. And then the last one's like, boom, grand slam Machado.
Yeah, they're going to make the adjustment when you've thrown that many in a row and be like, You know what's crazy though is some hitters will see a pitcher throw 8 straight sliders and still think they might get a fastball, and it's
Right.
still in their head. But a
Probably what
smart
Darno
hitter,
was thinking, calling it.
yeah, a smart hitter is going to kind of make that adjustment. But a lot of times when you see a pitcher do that, they just don't have a feel for a pitch. So the decision is for a catcher is, what's the right pitch versus what can he get over.
Right.
When a guy's battling like that and he's throwing a slider where he wants to and his fastball spraying all over the place, and then you feel like, all right, they're sitting on it. We got to throw a fastball here, throw it down the middle. I mean, that's kind of the decision the catcher always has to make, is not necessarily what's the right pitch, but what pitch does he have a better chance of executing. And when you see a guy throw 16 in a row, he's definitely controlling that pitch better. Maybe it's not the best because I don't feel like his slider's been as dominant.
No, it has not been.
And I think that's probably the entire difference in him, because early in the season when he was dominating, his slider was just filthy.
Yeah.
And if he would have thrown 16 of those in a row early in the season, he would have had 5 straight strikeouts.
Yeah.
Something like that. But when you lose that out pitch and you're grinding, it's a lot harder without your best pitch to do it. And it's probably just, it's just a little off, whether he's yanking it or casting it a little bit or just not quite got the same life to it. Something with him changed during that downtime and just lost feel for it. But if he gets that pitch back, I think he's just as dominant.
Yeah, and he said, I got one start left, and he corrected himself, said, well, I might have one start left. I guess he was saying, I'm not going to take it for granted that I'm going to be in there. But he still says he's confident, even though he's concerned, because he wants to give the team a chance to win and not stress the bullpen. So he's kind of concerned that he struggled so much recently. But he said, I'm also confident in what I can do, and he thinks he can get it turned around in one start. We'll see. But with his last start fixing things. But I thought that was kind of a definitive little sequence there, man, because they trailed 7-3 after Machado's grand slam against him in the bottom of the 5th. And the Braves come right back in the top of the 6th and score 4 runs, including Jorge Soler's 3-run homer. Soler's been huge, obviously, another of those 4 guys, the outfielders that they picked up. And he's just been, now he's hitting leadoff, and Freddie hitting second with Albies behind him and Riley hitting cleanup is really working well, because if they bring in a lefty to face Freddie, Albies is waiting. It's like, okay, I love that,
Yeah.
So I think that was a really good move by Snit to do that on this trip. Switch those guys around, have Soler lead off, even though he's, the biggest leadoff man in history, maybe, he's got discipline up there, and he's not overly aggressive. He works counts. He's actually working well, and he can run. So,
yeah,
but
I hadn't thought of that. That's a huge deterrent, because if you bring in a lefty specifically for Freddie, he's got to face
Ozzie at right-handed
too. I mean, you got to face 3 guys, so you got to face those 2 lefty killers right after him. I mean, that's a big deterrent.
Ozzie hitting right-handed has been great. I mean, it's like an OPS in mid-900s, high 900s, I think.
Yeah,
320 average, something like that. He has a way higher average in OBP than he does on the left. So they tied it again then with Soler's 3-run homer. Then they trailed again 8-7 after Chris Martin gives up a run in the 6th. And again, they came back. They tied it in the 9th on Eddie Rosario's 2-out single off Melanson, which I thought, for all those, there's just extolling the virtues of Melanson. We saw Melanson, a typical Melanson game. People that just looked at the numbers and the saves don't realize he's walked a tightrope too most of the year. He rarely has a clean inning.
He's got what's Smith say? He's got a big stomach too.
Yeah, big stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Eddie Rosario. That game he had in San Francisco, and then this game, I mean, right there, he earned his whatever they gave up to, which was Pablo Sandoval, to get him. That's what they gave up. That was it.
Yeah.
So they gave up nothing to get him. They just dropped Pablo Sandoval to the trade. So that's crazy that they got him for nothing. They got Soler almost for nothing, low level guy. What they got Duvall for Alex Jackson. Are you kidding me? I mean, Alex pulled off the miracle trades at the deadline. Gave up nothing to get guys that have been critical for them.
He should get consideration for the executive of
the
year or whatever it is, whatever that award's called.
Pulling
off that trade. If he doesn't do that, who knows where the team's at? But I mean, to get those 4 difference makers for nothing.
And really. Peterson, it gave up for Rich Rodriguez. He gave up Bryce Wilson. That's the biggest price he paid for anybody.
Yeah.
And these are all difference makers. I mean, most
Yeah.
teams, you make a few trades like that, and you're lucky if one of them really does what you hope down the stretch.
Yeah.
But these guys wouldn't be where they are without those guys, obviously.
No.
I mean, and sure, Acuna, you lose the best player in the league, and there's nothing good comes out of that. But you don't have all these guys if you have Acuna. You don't make all these moves, and you could argue that. I think it's stupid to say they're a better team without Acuna because that's not what I mean. But they would not have as much depth if they still had Acuna because they wouldn't have made all the moves that they made. They might have gone out and made one outfield move.
One or two of them.
That's it.
But I mean, the three guys hitting. If you ever ask the GM, do you want to have Acuna or do you want to try to trade and have three or four outfilders hit? It's hands down.
Hands down. You couldn't have predicted this, obviously. Obviously, you never would have predicted Rosario and Soler both were going to hit like much, much better than they did with their previous teams, but they have. So you would have probably still done Duvall because you needed a left fielder after losing Ozuna. You would not have done Soler and you would not have done Rosario if you still had Acuna.
Yeah. And it speaks to just how much depth matters more in baseball than any other sport.
And you wouldn't have done Peterson because that was a direct one.
That was direct. Yeah.
Right. So you'd have done Duvall probably. Would you still been as good? Probably, because Acuna is so good, but you wouldn't have the depth that you do now. Your lineup now is so deep. I mean, it's so much deeper than it was in the first half.
Yeah.
Interesting, but and just so anybody knows, we're not saying they're a better team without Acuna because that's stupid. Acuna is the best player in the league. So
it's just the way it's spun worked out well for the team.
Right, exactly.
Whether it was best case scenario for what happened.
Best case scenario.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, he should win Executive of the Year for recovering from losing Ronald Acuna at the All-Star break and winning the division, getting better in the second half.
Yeah.
Playing a whole season without Soroka, losing Ozuna to stupidness, Yeah,
I'm guessing Kapler's looking at Manager of the Year.
Oh, hands down. I'm voting for that. I could have voted for that a month ago.
Yeah.
That's not even close. After that, I'm waiting to vote the rest of the ballot because I want to see Schultz put his name in there with this late run, with Cardinals.
Yeah.
Because I would have said Craig Counsell otherwise,
That's still, I feel like you should be able to wait until after the wild card game because if the Cardinals sneak
I know,
playoff,
but it's strictly regular season. I got to vote by Sunday afternoon. So it'll be interesting. I think Snit will get, I'm not saying I'll vote for him. I think, but I think he will get some third place votes.
Yeah.
Look what he's done with all the injuries, man.
Yeah. Look how the team plays for him.
Exactly. There was in fact, there was after asked Soler about, coming to the Braves in this playoff race and how much fun he's having and that win after the win, that when he had the 3-run homer and then he has the huge hit in the 10th too. So he said it was a huge win, especially considering the fact that it felt like we were playing from behind the entire game. He said we kept overcoming the deficits and battling back the energy. He was talking about coming off the field and going, he said the energy was sky high, honestly, like nothing I've seen before. I mean, we were working our way back to the clubhouse and everybody was hooting and hollering and screaming. He said it was a big win.
God, that's such a good feeling. I miss being a part of that. That is probably what I miss the most about baseball is that those clubhouses after big wins, just doing that with a group of dudes, that's how you build momentum.
Snit said that might have been one of the guttiest games I've ever seen a team play. He said guttiest. He meant gutsiest, but I kept it. That was the Snitism, guttiest. One of the guttiest games I've ever seen a team play. What they could have done after the grand slam and how they roared back and just kept coming, man, because it's kind of defines who these guys are, what they're all about. He said these last two games, he said, my God, I'm so proud of these guys, those last two games. But there was a good quote from Darno about that, the last win. He said, yeah, we're going to get through this thing and not even spend any time talking on Fried, but God, how good was Fried, man?
You can't ask for much more than that. I mean, if you throw a complete game under 100 pitches, I know he's not striking out a ton of guys.
He's got two Maddoxes.
Yeah.
Two complete games under 100 pitches, 4 strikeouts in each of them. But he's actually fared better not striking out a lot of guys, pitching to contact, great defense behind him on a lot of ground balls, 16 ground balls in that game.
Yeah. He's just coming at him with stuff that's overwhelming. filling up the zone. I mean, it's so much fun to watch a baseball game that's pitched like that.
Charlie said about these, I was talking to Charlie about this team, and he said, I just don't see a lot of volatility in the clubhouse. I don't see a lot of the push and pull. I think it's just you show up every day and the guys, they care about each other. It's just an easy room to be a part of.
And he's been around. I mean, that's hinting at what I was talking about earlier, teams and players that are riding those waves up and down. I mean, it's contagious. Team just comes to play every day.
I was just looking for that one quote for what Darno had said about their what it said about them coming back. Yeah, Fried has turned into such a rock for this team down the stretch, man. And his family was there too from LA, which was really cool because they don't get to see him pitch much, coming across the country.
Yeah. I always feel like California guys going back home, or, Texas guy pitching there. There's always something extra behind it, pitching in that home state.
Oh, and the weather was just perfect for it too. It was a cool night, San Diego night. Yeah. I can't find that thing. But he was talking about what Darno was talking about was the leadership that they have. He said that allows them to come back and play through stuff like that. And he said the leadership, it starts with Snit and the coaches, and then he named like guys, Freddie, he named Dansby, he named Riley, Ozzie. He said we got a lot of guys that are just. He goes, it all contributes to this vibe that they have that they never get down.
Yeah, they're winners.
Yeah. All right. Well, big series with the Phillies and some good matchups. And this is what the Braves wanted to play. Go to the last week of the season with these games being relevant. And a lot of people for a long time thought there's no way they would be, but they stayed with it. And now they're playing for a playoff berth and a fourth straight division title, which is no small feat, man. I don't care what division you're in. There's not many teams winning 4 straight division titles.
No, I don't remember the last team to do that.
Dodgers are doing it, but yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Might not do it this year.
All right. Yeah, that's right. The streak might end. All right. 7:55 is real. We will talk again after the weekend. Who knows? Maybe the Braves will have clinched when we do it the next of these, or at the end of the week. Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. 7:55 is real. We are out. See y'all later.
Great show, guys.